Oh, hello all. All right. Well, lots been going on. Unfortunately, yesterday somebody where we shop for our groceries was walking out of the store and our car was out of control in the parking lot and crashed into many cars and killed this one shopper who came out of the grocery store. Very shocking because we go there all the time, walk in that same place, and it's just a shame, you know. Somebody's just minding their own business, going shopping, and then they get killed by somebody who unfortunately got frustrated with the traffic line and decided to try and cut in front of the other drivers, and instead ended up crashing his car into several others and killing a person. So much tragedy for no reason at all. You just have to keep your temper and go with the flow. That's all I can say, is try and just go with the flow and try not to get too frustrated with other humans as we get ever and ever so much more populated with more and more humans. Speaking of so many humans are causing a climate crisis here on planet Earth, and one of the issues are how many tipping points there are. Well, let's just talk about one tipping point in general, and I'll show you what I mean by a tipping point. It doesn't always mean melting glaciers or runaway fires or flooding. It can be species that suffer from tipping points. Let's talk about that. Freshwater fish species at risk of extinction. More than 20% of the world's freshwater fishes species are in danger of extinction. A new assessment was released Monday, 12/11/2023. It found that 3,086 out of 14,898 fish species are at risk of disappearing. They also found at least 17% threatened fish species are impacted by the climate crisis. The climate crisis can harm freshwater fishes by altering seasonal rhythms and lowering freshwater levels and increase saltwater intrusions into freshwater ecosystems as sea levels rise. 57% of at-risk species are threatened by pollution alone. 45% by dams and water extraction. Now, what I mean by water extraction is that they'll sort of semi-dam up a river and then suck a lot of that water out for agriculture or other uses. And the fish get sucked up into these pipes and get ground up into the turbines. 33% by disease and invasive species. I think we all know what invasive species are. Fish that have been planted into the waters, either through deliberate means or indiscriminately by people just getting tired of their fish aquariums and dumping them into the nearby waters, and then these fish end up being invasive species. And 25% by fishing. Fishing alone eats up 25% of fish. Freshwater fishes make up more than half of the world's known fish species. One of the vulnerable species of fish, for example, is the Atlantic salmon, which has seen a significant decline in its population since around the turn of the 21st century. The salmon face a number of threats, including dams, pollution, and agriculture, disease from farmed fish, overfishing, and the climate crisis. Farmed fish. Now, this is where you put those pens that you see both in the ocean and in freshwater bodies, where they put in invasive fish into the water and raise them for food. And these fish get sick because they're so close together, and they spread their disease to the native fishes around that area. Another example is the Central, South Pacific, and East Pacific green turtles are now considered endangered. It is critical that we better safeguard our freshwater systems, as they are not only home to wildlife but also provide humans with so many services that only the natural world can supply. So there's an example of a tipping point. Once we lose a species, or species, they may feed another species, which then they don't have any food left, so they die out, which means that another species of fish that eat those fish are going to die because they don't have supplies of those fish. and on and on and on. It's called the tipping point, or breaking the food chain. And once you break that chain, you can't bring it back until all the fish that are downstream from those fish die off, and that's the end of that chain of fish. And it's such a shame that we're doing this. And don't forget, 25% of freshwater fish are being killed off by fishermen and by fishing. Maybe you should try another hobby, something other than fishing. And a lot of people say, well, catch and release. Well, put a hook in your mouth, rip the inside of your throat, getting that hook out, and see how long that fish survives before it gets infected, can't swallow, can't eat, or something else. Putting a sharp hook into a fish's mouth is not a good thing, whether it's catch and release or whether it's to kill that fish. It does permanent damage to those fish. So this idea of catch and release has always been kind of a funny spot in my mind, because it really does a lot of damage to the fish. So fish are better looked at from a canoe, going down a creek, looking down at them and seeing them in their natural state, instead of having them on your dinner plate or just catching and releasing, causing a lot of fish a lot of permanent harm. And let's not forget that those fish that ate the catch and release hook may come back and bite another hook and get another injury into their mouth. It's not cool. If you don't like it, the fish aren't going to like it. So let's respect nature, and let's forget about catch and release, and let's pay attention to the tipping points, no matter what they are, whether they're nature, climate, fire, water, flooding, whatever it is. It's all coming out ahead now, and it's up to us to try and stop it. Try and do your part, and try and convince others not to do the harmful things. Say to them, would you like that if that was done to you? If you had a big hook put in your mouth and you were thrown and you were carried, picked up by that hook, it's stuck in your throat. It's awful, just awful. Just the thought of it makes me want to kind of get sick inside. But somehow we've brainwashed ourselves into thinking that that's a humane and okay thing to do. I appreciate any thoughts you have on this. What's your opinion on this? I appreciate any subscribers and definitely your comments. And until next time.